Greetings, Batprince here, and today Ms. Bat and I are playing Divine Favor.
Bum,
Take it away, lady.
Start?
Oh, yeah, I don't know.
No.
Time for you to read.
Okay, Leon comes to his senses slowly. He opens his eyes for a brief moment, but upon seeing only blackness, lets them shut again. They are heavy, and he is still quite tired. What had happened? He acclaims himself to his surroundings, taking...
It's acclimate.
Oh, sorry, I know, I realised I said it wrong. Taking stock of his body. He's flat on his back with limbs splaying to his sides. He wiggles his fingers experimentally and finds whatever is laying on the soft and malleable running through his fingers like dusty upturned clay.
Ew.
He's quite comfortable.
Okay.
Yeah. He feels heavy somehow, like he's just been drugged. His limbs don't respond well to his requests, preferring them lay in the dirt where they had evidently been for some time now.
Mr. Montgomery!
The voice of an old man calls out to him, and Leon opens his eyes a bit before letting them slide closed again.
Mr. Montgomery, have you finally joined us?
The old man sounds pleasant. Grandfatherly, even. Not quite juvenile, but comforting all the same.
Jovial.
The most that Leon can manage at the moment is to grunt of confirmation, but that seems to be enough.
It's good to see you again, young man. I never imagined we'd be meeting so soon.
Leon slurs in response. His tongue is heavy in his mouth. A liquid feeling runs across his teeth.
Don't get too riled up now. You've had a rough time. Do you remember?
Does he remember? Let's see. He had woken and gone to work just like any day.
You might have to use the space bar.
Yeah, I know. That seems... Yeah. And then he had been crushed by a collapsing beam falling from the ceiling at the right time.
Oh.
Wrong time.
Ah.
Didn't matter. His distress must have shown on his face.
Be calm now. It's all over, I assure you.
His voice was close to his ears, and though Leon couldn't feel the man's breath on his skin, he could imagine it easily. Leon coughs as something tickles down his throat. Whether it be bile or dirt, he can't seem to get it out. I died?
Yes.
The old man speaks,
yes.
And he doesn't mourn with his words.
You did. Crushed instantly and painlessly.
Ooh.
You're a lucky man.
Lucky? How can I be lucky? I'm dead.
But it was quick and painless, a thing every dying creature dreams of.
Leon mulls over the old man's words. Is this the afterlife then?
It is.
And is this... Leon pauses to cough again.
Nice cough.
Thank you. Heaven?
You're dead.
Or did I end up in, the voice chuckles and Leon imagines an affectionate pat on his shoulder.
Yes, my boy. This is heaven. There is an abundance of food, family, and space for all.
That's a relief to hear. Are you God then?
No, simply a fellow resident. We've met before, you see.
What's your name?
Names have little meaning here. All you need to know is that we've met before. I'm actually happy to meet you again since we passed each other so briefly in life. We didn't even get the chance to speak, I believe. I remembered your face, though, and I thought it would be kind to greet you when you woke.
Aw, that's lovely.
Most arrived so confused, you see.
Well, thank you for the consideration, I guess.
Of course, my boy. Anything to help someone as gracious as you. You offered me such a quick death, something an old-timer like me can only dream of.
Oh, a quick death? I offered... Wait, I've never killed anyone. Leon's heart rises in his throat, thumping under his skin in uneven pulses. His voice cracks in fear.
Mr. Montgomery, don't fret. It was an accident on your part. You didn't even know it happened.
The voice speaks softly and apologetically. Leon's voice wavers and his mind reels. I'm sorry.
Hush. Like I said, it was an accident. Besides, if you had not killed me, I would have died not long after. I was quite old, you see, and there are worse ways to go. I probably would have been devoured or drowned or horribly injured and left to die. The quick work on your part is, as I said, appreciated.
Leon has nothing to say Leon has nothing to say in response to that.
Besides, if you hadn't killed me, I would not be here to speak with you upon waking up. Those are the rules, after all. It is a high honor to be here.
What do you mean, rules? Leon imagines the old man smiling thoughtfully.
The rules. Of course, there's rules in a place as wonderful as heaven. Keeping the order and all that. Firstly, of course, everyone knows heaven only really begins once the one who kills you arrives.
Do these accidental murders, does that happen often? The old man sighs, thinking quietly before speaking again.
More often than you'd think, my boy.
I wonder how many people
No
I've
one
killed.
takes offense to it. 12. Death comes for us all in the end, and dwelling on that fact wouldn't be of any use here. This is the perfect heaven.
Leon sighs, momentarily distracted by the feeling of the hairs on his legs moving and twitching in the wind. Was he nude? He decided not to think about that just yet. Oops, his eyelids opened. They were still heavy, refusing to focus, sliding sharp before he could even attempt to pursue the blackness. Hopefully he wasn't giving the old man too much of an eyeful.
There are other basic rules, of course. Respect one another, treat others as you would treat yourself, regardless of differences, work together for the betterment of the community, and most importantly of all, treat your home with respect.
That should be every day.
Yeah. Although we are here forever, in our utopia cannot die or fade, it would be cruel to treat it with anything less than our total respect.
Damn straight. These all sound like reasonable requirements.
I'm glad you think so, Mr. Montgomery. I must say, it's been a pleasure speaking with you thus far. Are you already fitting in so well with the community we've set up here? And I can tell you that all of our residents have taken a shining to you already.
Other residents? Leon opens his eyes with a bated breath. His vision has accommodated to the darkness a bit more, and his eyes are drawn to cross at his nose, where a small light sits. No, not a light. Merely a reflection glinting off the body of something small resting on his apex of his face. Leon attempts to take a deep breath to blow the insect off his nose. He chokes.
Oh!
The man speaks again, but as Leon's eyes dart around, he sees nothing in great blackness aside from his own arms, sprayed out to the sides, speckled in dirt.
Ha! Trying to shake me off now, are you?
Oh. He's on top of him? The voice speaks in the darkness, smiling through his words. Leon crosses his eyes at the bug again. It's an earwig, larger than average.
You didn't get that?
No, I didn't.
Nice.
An antennae are bent slightly, tiny head crocked to the side, looking at him. You're a bug.
Of course I am a bug. This is heaven, and I did no wrong in life.
That's funny. The old insect rather, rubs his forelegs together in a funny little way flies often do. Oh! Leon can only manage a single syllable. He hadn't thought about it before, but he supposed, well, bugs don't really have a capacity for cruelty, do they? Bees sting, mosquitoes bite, and ants crawl into food, but none of them really do it out of hate, do they? Perhaps it was not too unrealistic then. So, he didn't know how to continue this conversation. I killed you by accident, huh? The wig almost nods.
Crushed underfoot, I'm afraid. It's actually quite funny. We both died in the same merciful way.
Leon would have argued that there was a huge difference between the man dying in a horrific factory accident and a bug being stepped on, but in present company he held his dry tongue. So, he tries to clear his throat, but the nervous lump inside would not go away. So, when does this heaven thing actually start? Like, is something going to come get us, or...
Mr. Montgomery, it's already started. It's been happening around you for quite a while. Surely you can feel it.
Feel it?
Yes, can you feel heaven pulsing through your veins?
Something in Leon's chest twinges then, his heart skipping a beat. He wiggles his fingers again, and they creak under the sockets like old metal. But they move, and he turns them downwards and grip on the loose, sliding soil beneath. The movement is agonizing slow. He slides his elbows back until his shoulders are forced off the ground, his neck dangling weakly beneath as he masters the strength to pull his head out of the ground. The dirt gets in his hair, more than it was before. He blinks it out of his eyes, lifting his heavy skull free from the ground. He needs to look at his surroundings. The Black Sea is nearly endless. With his sleep-aided vision straining in the dark, he can spot outcroppings of something, perhaps rock or plant matter, sticking out to the black ocean. The spots trail out into the void, out of sight. It must be night, for the darkness to be this
Oppressive.
oppressive. Sorry.
You're good.
Where are we? He asks again, for the earwig is still holding tightly to the tip of his nose.
I've told you before, Mr. Montgomery, this is heaven.
Leon rests himself up on his elbows properly now, elevating his view. He can see a vague shape of his torso, his legs, his feet, pale against the dark earth. He blinks again, chasing the haziness from his vision. The movement on top of his nose catches his attention first. He looks at the insect. He looks past the insect. Oh wow, that's beautiful. His body lies before him naked as the day he was born. Perhaps even more so, he has been flaying like an animal, skin cast aside to reveal the grinding meaty
Grinding meaty machinations within.
He tries to gasp to scream, but the bile in his throat chokes him, and he splatters up great clumps of it. Ew. The blackened globs splatter across his face, laying still before scattering down to the earth, and he can see now that the bile has 1,000 feet, 1,000 eyes. The ants slide from his face and disappear into the darkness beneath, and as he looks at his own hand sink below the surface of the muck, he can suddenly feel the millions of tiny appendages that cradle his body in the way that sand cradles shells, left abandoned on the shore. It isn't soil. It's millions. It's billions. It's an incomprehensible, incalculable number of ants. Just ants? Leon tries to scream, but his lungs sit stiff where they're nestled in his chest, and as he looks he can see that they are rigid and paper-like, flaky. A wasp lands on... Sorry, the sound of the wasp. I'm like, where is it? A wasp lands on them, and it looks at him before crawling inside its nest. His gut twists, and he can see the crawling miles of legs that have replaced his intestines. He can see how his bones are held together by thick layers of spiderwebs instead of muscles and tendons. He can see the bones themselves are pock-marked, and how the termites move and shove at his marrow. He can't feel any of it. He is completely numb from the neck down. That's really beautiful art. He feels all of it. He can feel the crackling of his own organs as they're bitten and torn by thousands of tiny mouths. How is his body broken down and built back up before his eyes? And as he tears his gaze away from his own corpse, out of the blackness, at the juttering rocks, he doesn't see sediment or plants. Oh gosh. He sees hands. He sees feet. He sees heads with their own terrified blinking eyes. The field watches him, and he tries to scream. His voice splutters and dies as something wet crawls up in his throat and settles among his vocal cords, binding his throat with slime. Silenced, his eyes focus back on the earwig, which crawls closer. He can only manage a whisper. This is hell. Why? He tries to sob, but his paper lungs refuse to bend. The wasps inside buzz in their irritation and can feel them rattle against his horrid ribcage.
No, this isn't hell. Look at all of us. All of us so incapable of sin.
I haven't done anything wrong either. I was a good man, a good husband. Why is this happening to me?
What could be better than this, my child?
Exactly, it's perfect for all the bugs.
You who are so selfless, helping so many for all of eternity. Is this not what any mortal creature would want?
He looks up at the sky then, out of the cavernous abyss. He sees it hanging there, like a trail of smoke, thinner than one of his fingers, but endless in length and in coils and contortions. A great white worm, undulating in the blackness, illuminating by mere glints of light, reflections along its thin, hungry body. He cannot see the beginning of it, and he cannot see the end. The great Gorgamogorgon slimely, weaselly above him, close enough to touch it if his arms weren't so heavy.
Jorgonmander.
Cool, thank you. It cascades outwards
Immeasurably. Now you're getting
all
stumbled
these
on normal words
words
because of the other ones.
All these words are brilliant, but I'm just mumbling. Sorry. Like a dense living cloud cover. A protective cocoon. The body of God was an indescribably fluid thing. Leon opens his mouth to speak, but only a splutter of wine comes out. His voice box, entirely filled with bile and slime, seizes and fails. His shoulders can no longer support him, and his hollow collarbone cracks, sending him sprawling back into the never-ending wave of insects. He lays there, helpless. The earwig crawls down his nose, settling on his cheek right below his eye.
Welcome to heaven, Mr. Montgomery. The end.
That was beautiful. That art and the everything. That was lovely.
We've been playing so many silly RPG animes. I thought I'd queue up something that you'd get excited and surprised about.
That was gorgeous. Thank you.
Also, that one little achievement that popped up, this is my main account.
Oh,
100%.
nice.
You just 100%ed the game for me.
Yes.
All right. Well, that's enough heaven for one day, I think. I'll see you kiddies sometime later. Nighty night.